afternoon. I'm still reporting on politics. For the first time, we now know for sure that Ben Carson was deliberately cheated out of Iowa Caucus delegates by an elaborate and sophisticated deception operation mounted by the Ted Cruz campaign. According to Whistleblower and a former top Cruz operative, whom we've named John Doe, the entire Iowa Caucus cheat was not accidental, but a carefully choreographed dirty tricks operation hatched 17 days before the February 1st Iowa Caucus. Whistleblower John Doe revealed that the caper was born on January 15, 2016. He was managing the phone banks for the Cruz campaign in Iowa. I was monitoring volunteers making calls, hundreds of calls a day, lying about Trump as well as Senator Rubio. I bit my tongue at first, knowing it was wrong. Then 2 weeks prior to the Iowa caucus, we received the results of our internal poll. Trump was leading, Cruz was second, and Ben Carson was third, with a shockingly high amount of support, meaning much more support than what CNN and Fox had him at. But then deep within the data, a group of top Cruz staffers noticed something they might be able to take advantage of. The kicker was that a majority of Carson supporters had Cruz as their second choice, said Doe. In other words, if Carson dropped out after his voters had already arrived at the caucus site, then Cruz would be the main beneficiary. Based on that key piece of information, former Cruz Communications Director Amanda Carpenter, who had moved on to a job at CNN 6 months earlier, proposed a plan to cheat Dr. Carson out of his delegates by spreading the false rumor that Carson was dropping out of the race just seconds before the caucus was to begin. However, at that point, whistleblower John Doe couldn't take it anymore. I strongly opposed this, but they decided they were going to do it anyway, so I quit on January 18th. When caucus day arrived on January 1st, the Cruz team was ready. Were they coordinating directly with CNN? Only history will tell, but the facts do seem suspicious. At 6:43 local time, 17 minutes before the Iowa caucus opened, CNN announced Carson was going home to Florida, win or lose.
Right. We should say that our Chris Moody is breaking this news that Ben Carson is going to go back to Florida, to his home, regardless of how he does tonight here in Iowa. He's going to go there for several days, and then afterwards, he's not going to go to South Carolina. He's not going to go to New Hampshire. He's going to come to Washington, D.C.
At exactly 33 seconds before 7 p.m., the Ted Cruz 2016 official Twitter site sent out this tweet. CNN is reporting that Ben Carson will stop campaigning after Iowa. Make sure to tell all of your peers at caucus supporting Carson that they should coalesce around the true conservative who will be in the race for the long haul, Ted Cruz. This wasn't a mistake. This was a deliberate lie designed to kick off the mass abandonment of Carson voters once they had already arrived but not yet voted. By 7:07 p.m., former CIA dirty trickster Dan Gabriel ratcheted up the validity of Cruz's interpretation of events with his own tweet. Source inside Ben Carson's New Hampshire campaign just confirmed to me, real Ben Carson is out. Choose Cruz. Gabriel's website bragged of his past CIA ties and of his expertise in insurgencies, foreign and domestic. Minutes later, the Cruz campaign put out a fax on official stationery saying Carson was essentially out of the race and please inform any Carson goers of this news and urge them to caucus with Ted Cruz. This was followed by another Dan Gabriel tweet trying to sow confusion by blaming the Trump campaign. Dirty tricks. Trump campaign started Carson rumor. Odd. By 7:50 p.m., a Carson spokesman tweeted that Carson was not standing down and was only returning to Florida to get fresh clothes. The Cruz camp ignored that. Soon after the caucus had started, but before the voting, the Cruz campaign started robocalling precinct captains with a message to tell Carson voters they should not waste a vote on Ben Carson. Also before the voting, and half an hour after Carson's denial that he was leaving the race, Representative Steve King, Republican of Iowa, Cruz's Iowa campaign chairman, still tweeted out, "Carson looks like he is out. Iowans need to know before they vote. Most will go to Cruz, I hope." This deliberate onslaught of many events had their intended effect. Many Carson voters switched over to Cruz. Unfortunately for the Cruz campaign, the giant band of Trumpers on Twitter quickly put all this together, uncovering the plot. In the ensuing hours after the miraculous Ted Cruz victory, the mounting allegations of election fraud became so great that Cruz apologized to Carson the next day for the Dirty Tricks campaign. Even Congressman Steve King apologized for his role in the scam in his own tweet, but too late to change the vote. I respect Ben Carson and regret any miscommunications. Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed that Cruz's fraud stole the Iowa election from him. Trump went on to win the next 3 primaries, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada, by landslide margins, and has now taken a commanding delegate lead, thus sealing Cruz's fate as 2016's Crown Prince of Sleaze. I'm still reporting from Washington. Good day.